makes a comment, the way that they approached the tomb and how they entered um, kind of has a question for us as to how it was really dug out and how it was covered. Interesting. Yep, Germans are excellent. Yeah. Someone may also suggest that Peter was kind of tall and had to stoop when he went in. That's another that's another option for us to think about. Mary, she's a little old gal. She's kind of walks in, maybe, but they went in. They're aghast. They can't believe it. I don't know. I don't know if we talk about anxiety. For Mary, it's anxiety. 11. Mary was standing outside the tomb weeping, and so she wept. She stooped, oh, she did stoop, and looked into the tomb. She had to get down there, Alfie. And she saw two angels in white, sitting one at the head and one at the feet where the body of Jesus had been lying. One writer said that the mercy seat, Kappareth, the place of atonement, in the Old Testament, we had cherubim on either side of the lid that was on top of the Ark of the Covenant. And he said, here we have two angels sitting on either side of the brand new place of where God makes himself one with man. Wow. Woman, why are you weeping? 13. She said to them, because they've taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him. How many times have you looked for Jesus in your life? I know we can't do this with the whole 2 chapters, but it just can't help it. How many times have we come to a place in our lives where we are distraught, the day isn't going right, life has fallen apart, things are not good, and you define that for yourself. Many levels of not good. And we wonder where Jesus is. Where's God now that I need him? It occurred to one person to say, maybe we don't see God because, like Mary, we're not looking in the right place. She goes back to the tomb where it's dark, where he was dead. And she didn't find him where she thought he would be. And there are so many times in my life I say, where is God when I need him, or what's going on here? I don't understand. I'm distraught. I'm anxiety ridden. And it's because I'm looking for God where he's not. And I should be looking for Jesus where he is. Wow, we have a lifetime to answer that question, so do keep on answering that question. Where is Jesus? Keep looking. If you don't see him, something's wrong with my vision, not his. She says, woman, why are you weeping? They've taken him away. 14, she said this, she turned around, she saw Jesus standing and did not know it was him. Early in the morning, sometime between 3 and 6, sun just coming up. Jesus said to her, woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking? Supposing him to be the gardener, she's so overcome and she's so full of confusion that even his voice is not familiar, and she thinks he's the gardener out there, a tomb in a garden, whatever that garden may have been like. She says, sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I'll take him away. Next 3 verses are some of the sweetest in the scriptures. Jesus said to her, Mary. She turned and she said to him, Rabboni, teacher. Envision why Jesus says this next. Jesus said, "Stop clinging to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go tell my brethren and say to them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, my God and your God." And Mary Magdalene came announcing to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And he said these things to her. Why would Jesus say, stop? The New American Standard says takes a pretty literal translation of the old Greek that's there. Stop clinging to me. Why would he say that? Grin when you think about it. Tell me why? Why? What's going on? Now, whether that's his waist or his feet don't make no difference. Luke says they went for his feet. Matthew did. He says, okay, great, but it's not time. It's not time for all the joy that we have right now. We've got things we've got to accomplish still yet. But what a beautiful picture John gives us of Mary in her anxiety, her grief, her confusion, realizes Jesus is alive, and she grabs him. Wow. 19. So when it was evening on that first day of the week, when the doors were shut, the disciples were there for fear of the Jews. They're still upset. They still see themselves as a political movement that the Sanhedrin wants to wipe out, and the Romans are happy to do it. Doors are locked. Jesus came and stood in their midst and said, "Peace be with you." He didn't rattle the door. He didn't rattle the hinges. He walked through it. That's what John indicates here. The resurrected body don't need no doors. Wow. When he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples then rejoiced, and they saw the Lord. And Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I also send you." When he said this, he breathed on them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, their sins have been forgiven. If you retain the sins of any, they've been retained." And we don't have time to go over to the theological depths or implications of this, except to say they've got a big job that you're going to read about in Acts 2. Wow. But Thomas, oh boy, one of the 12, called Didymus, the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples were saying to him, "We've seen the Lord." But he said, "No, I don't think so. Unless I see in his hands the imprint of the nails, and I put my finger in the place of the nails and put my hand into his side." Why would he put his hand into his side? The spear wound. "I will not believe." After 8 days, his disciples were again inside. And if I was going to be resurrected, if I had chosen to be resurrected, I would come back much younger and a lot better looking. Now, I don't know about you, but that's me. At a teacher in school one day, he was talking to us. We were talking about the resurrection. He says, "When I come back, I'm going to be 25. And he was far beyond that age when he said it. But what did Jesus do? They could look. He preserved and brought back to life, reanimated, revived. And the word "revived" there is not like Schoenberg and others would say from the 50s that Jesus just swooned. He didn't just swoon, he was dead. He came back and he could say, "I brought the same old body with me so you could really know it's me." This is where they put the nails, right through my hands. Oh my goodness. And that Roman spear, here's where it went right through my ribs, and the water and the blood came out. Oh my goodness. It is you. Thomas says, lest I do that, I won't believe. After 8 days, his disciples were again inside, Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors having been shut. They're still upset. They're still afraid. I don't blame them. They don't know what's going on. Doors having been shut, and stood in their midst. How many times, you don't have to give me a number, but boy, how many times have you read throughout the Gospels, fear not. Don't be afraid. Peace. Is that John 16? My peace I give you, not as the world gives. If that's not John 16, read all 3 or 4 there. It's good. These boys and girls are upset. They don't know what's going on. They are now outlaws. They are now being sought. Jesus has already told them, it's going to get pretty rough. They hate me, they'll hate you. But I have overcome the what? The world. I have overcome the chaotic disorder of human ignorance, fear, and Satan's evil. I have overcome it. John will later say, 1 John, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. And John will also say, this is the victory that overcomes the world, your, say it, faith. Your continuing trust and confidence in Jesus, the resurrected Lord, overcomes the fear within you and me. I've never seen a person resurrect. I've seen a person die. You've seen perhaps much more. We all have those experiences in life that tell us something's wrong, and I don't like it. And Jesus says, I know. I've taken care of that. Join me. Join me. Questions, comments? Well, again, we get this little piece where Jesus says something and Thomas says something, and we don't have the full picture, but boy, you just know it's there. Thomas answered, after Jesus said, put your fingers there. Reach into my side. If that's what you need, it's okay. It's okay. And then Thomas, he just breaks down, my Lord and my God. Exclamation of faith, trust, confidence. He doesn't have an expletive of anything right there. He's not, oh my. It's like, no, he's saying, this is who you are. Jesus said, because you've believed, you've seen me, have you believed? Blessed are those who did not see and yet believed. Flo, who is that? Who have not seen and yet believed? That's us. Yeah, that's us. Pardon. We have not seen. How can we know? John loves that word, those two little words, and we've talked about them before. I know it's Sunday because that's what the calendar said, and I had to get up. And John has another word he likes to use for know, to know, and that means to experience at a level that you go, this is real. This is real stuff. He he says, therefore many other signs Jesus also performed in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. But these have been written that you what? Say it. That you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have what? Life. Jesus said in John chapter 10, about verse 10, the thief has come only to kill and to steal and destroy, but I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. Jesus wasn't kidding. John was there. He's not kidding. This is not a myth. Comments, questions? After these things, verse 20, or chapter 21, after these things, Jesus again showed himself to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, that's up in Galilee, and he manifested himself this way. Simon Peter and Thomas, called Didymus, Nathanael it's almost like he's going back to the very first of the story, isn't he? The only thing he hasn't done is call Andrew, you know. He may be in there, I don't know. Oh, no, yeah, he may be. Chapter 1, you've got the players coming again together, so to speak. Simon Peter, Thomas called Didymus, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, and the sons of Zebedee. Only John, in all of the Gospels, will say the sons of Zebedee, and not at some point tell you who they are. One of the, let's see if I can say this in great esoteric and theological terms, this is one of the really cool things that John does. Pardon, I got a cough. Pardon. That's not very good, I'm sorry. I got to mow the lawn. Got a lot of junk out there. Anyway, when, example, Matthew chapter 10, verses 2 through 4, you can look there later if you want. When Matthew lists the apostles, he says Thomas and Matthew. Lists himself. Thomas and Matthew are always a pair. Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But in Matthew, he lists himself second. In Mark, when the apostles are listed, you think Peter, Andrew, James, and John. No, Peter, James, John, and Andrew. Why? Well, Peter's talking. He's giving these sermons. Mark's writing it down. And so someone who is close to an individual that's in a list will, out of, I don't know if it's humility or probably some kind of humility maybe, I don't know, will list them later. Because you go back into Mark, it's Matthew and Thomas, whereas Matthew lists himself later. You go into Mark, and Andrew's name is lower in the list because Peter's talking about him. You go into Luke, and Luke has them all in what kind of order that we would expect, you know. What does John do? The women at the cross, Mary's sister. One of the gospel writers will say, the mother of the sons of Zebedee was there. John never names, I think you can look at Luke, I can't remember. Look at all the Gospels, it's pretty cool. Names her perhaps as Salome. That's not good Aramaic, but that's all I got. So here, John always talks about himself in the third person, the disciple whom Jesus loved. And here, he won't even list him and his brother. He'll say the sons of Zebedee, those of Zebedee. We're getting some really personal insights. Now, we keep saying that over and over, but it just is. And two other disciples, I don't know who they were, John said, two others. Simon Peter said to them, I am going fishing. Where's Chuck? I'm going fishing. They said, yeah, let's all go. They were in the fishing business, a lot of them together. Got in the boat. That night, they caught nothing. When day was now breaking, Jesus stood on the beach, yet the disciples did not know it was Jesus. It's too early in the morning, can't quite make him out. He hollers out, did y'all get anything? They said, no. Throw your nets on the other side. Where have you heard that before? Cast your nets on the other side. Cast your nets on the other side. Cast it on the right-hand side of the boat and you'll get a catch. So they cast. They were not able to haul it in because of the great number of fish. And then the disciple whom Jesus loved, he still won't name himself, says to Peter, it's the Lord. Peter heard it was the Lord and he put on his outer garment. He was stripped for work, threw himself into the sea. Some of your translations may say because he was naked out there. One writer said it was very common to say when you were stripped down to just a light garment, that they would say, oh, they're naked. So don't worry about that one way or another. But he put on something else, and when it's swimming in it, I mean, here comes Jesus. Oh, I'm going to put on my best three-piece suit, and I'm going to go swimming to go meet him. Yeah, I mean, here's Peter, impetuous. He can't wait. He doesn't stay in the boat. He says, I'll meet y'all over there. The other disciples came in the little boat, for they were not far from the land, but about 100 yards, dragging the net full of fish. So when they got out on the land, they saw a charcoal fire already laid, and fish placed on it, and bread. Jesus is still making breakfast for these guys. Jesus said, bring some of the fish that you've caught. Simon Peter went up and drew the net to land full of large fish, 153. Although there were so many, the net was not torn. So many of the ages, you can read on and on and on about what this 153 means. Was John in the fishing business? Yeah, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, they were all in the fishing business. So can you blame a fisherman if he counts all of them and says what the catch was? Let's start that. Come and have breakfast. 12. None of the disciples ventured to question him, who are you? Because they knew it was the Lord. Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and the fish likewise. Now this is the third time Jesus was manifested to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. You read the Gospel of John, you read 1 John especially, and there is a horrible heresy pervading the Christian world, as such as it was at that time, the end of the first century, got into the second century. And they would say, Jesus just seemed to be here because the gods that we know of can't have a real body, because a real body is a bad thing, and they're not going to have a bad thing, a real body. So Jesus just seemed to be here in a ghostly fashion. And John's all over it. He says, no, he was here. He uses, so many times we use the word see. Oh, I saw that. Did you see that truck go by? Yeah, I saw that truck go by. But if I make a difference and I say, did you look at the truck that went by? What do I mean? John makes that difference in his gospel. He also differentiates that idea of seeing or looking in 1 John. John will say, we didn't just see, you use the King James, beautiful, we beheld. We saw it. We watched him. It was not an apparition. It was not a ghost. He was really here. They'd finished breakfast. Jesus said to Simon, oh my goodness, here we go. Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? He said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. We protect Peter so much in English. Tend my lambs. He said to him again a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He said, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. He said to him, Shepherd my sheep. He said to him the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was grieved because he'd said to him the third time, Do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, Tend my sheep. A little trouble here when I pause. There's when we talk about the word love, as it occurs so much in the New Testament, what are we talking about? Anybody? I'm sorry? Depends on where. God so loved the world, for example. The idea of love there. There's a guy named Woost, I don't know what is, the expanded translation, the expanded New Testament it's called. And much of it kind of reads like you might read in other versions, but he comes to this part and he waylays Peter, I'm afraid, expands the terms. What does this word mean if I were to give it every nuance that I could? And as you read John chapter 21 in Wuest's version, it'll say, Jesus will say something like this, Peter, do you have such a self-sacrificing giving of yourself for me because I am precious to you? And Peter said, Lord, you know I like you. I'm fond of you. Those are the terms being used. Jesus says, do you love me, using agapao? Selfless giving of one to another at all times, at all levels. And Peter answers, you're my buddy. Feed my lambs. Peter, do you have this self-sacrificing devotion to me because of who I am? Agape love. Peter says, you know that I like you and I'm fond of you. Oh, Jesus is raking him over the coals. Peter denies Jesus. Some will say Peter denies Jesus 3 times. And so Jesus says, let's get your faith fixed in what you say about me, okay? That's up to Jesus. He's the Lord. He can do what he wants, right? So the third time, Jesus comes down to Peter's level, and he says, Peter, do you like me? Are we friends? He says, Lord, you know what we are. We're friends, and I love you that way. Take care of my sheep. Comments, questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. John is saying that when Jesus healed people, there were many levels on which Jesus touched their lives and restored them. The woman who had bleeding that wouldn't stop, that would make her ostracized from the Jewish community as well. And so when Jesus heals her, her body as well and her relationships can be restored. And he's doing the same thing with Peter. Thank you for that. 18. 18, truly, truly I say to you, when you were younger, you used to gird yourself and walk wherever you wished. And when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will gird you and bring you where you do not wish to go. Now this he says, signifying by what kind of death he would glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he said to him, follow me. Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following, and the one who also had leaned back on his bosom at supper and said, Lord, who's the one who betrays you? So Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, Lord, what about this man? Jesus said to him, if I want him to remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. Therefore, this saying went out among the brethren that the disciple would not die. Yet Jesus did not say to him that he would not die, but only, if I want him to remain until I come. What's that to you? This is the disciple who is testifying to these things and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true. There are also many of the things which Jesus did, which if they were written in detail, I suppose that even the world itself would not contain the books that would be written. Echoes of Romans chapter 14. Each of us belongs to Almighty God. He created us, and then for all who have been baptized into Christ, he bought us, redeemed us from the life that was going to perdition. If God uses you differently than he uses me, that's great. And that's what Jesus is saying. You know, if you can't preach like Peter, if you can't go like Paul, you can tell the love of Jesus and say he died for all. That's in a song someplace. So whenever we see someone trying to do something which takes their trust and confidence and expresses that in some way, let's encourage that. Is there correction that can come? Sure, correct me all you want. I need it. I'm just loud. I'm not that smart. I'm just loud, and that's because I got a microphone on, you know. That's it. But as we see each other and we see Jesus in each other, we're not going to see Jesus using me like he uses you. I'm not going to see you being used by Jesus the Master in his toolbox like he uses me, and that's okay. That's good. That's fine. We're like so many sides of a diamond that flash and reflect light. As each facet turns, the light breaks it down into a prism. It's blue here, it's orange here, it's red here, a little green here, and we turn the diamond over. Our faith community is so much as that beautiful piece of jewelry that God has forged, there's mixed metaphors if you like it, that God has forged together and chipped off, just like a diamond, what we don't need anymore so we can reflect his glory. And we do that together in so many ways that are all to the glory of God. Questions, comments? Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. John says in Isaiah 42, God says, I have called you and redeemed you by name. And there's a reflection of what Jesus is doing with Mary as he calls her attention with her name. Echoes of Mark chapter 5 with the man infested with so many demons. He says, what is your name? At the close of this set of readings in John, let us, did you have a question, Flo, or a comment? I can see it. I can see it. was saying that Jesus forgave so many people in John, no matter where they were in their walk with him, that it tells us that we need to let Jesus forgive folks and recognize his work in them. I'm going to expand a little bit on what you said. So if there's somebody that I think has been a dirty old rotten sinner and Jesus forgives him or her, let's, in our own minds and our hearts, let Jesus forgive that person and walk with them as one redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Ask yourself, it's okay to ask every day if you want to, because some days are going to get mungerer, that's not a good verb, but I think it's good theology, than others. Do you believe? And on those days when it gets fuzzy, ask the witnesses, and we've asked John. You will answer that question. I will answer that question with what we do now.